What if a single encounter could spark a counter-revolution? Imagine one boy's story becoming the catalyst for a worldwide movement for youth. This is the tale of St. John Bosco, Bartholomew Garelli, and the birth of a miraculous mission.
The Miracles and Prophecies of St. John Bosco, a project of America Needs Fatima. I'm your host, Adrian Fonseca. Subscribe for new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Today we'll witness the extraordinary growth of Don Bosco's mission, from a handful of boys to a movement that would change the world. And as we explore this inspiring journey, keep these themes in mind: the power of persistence in spreading God's love, how small beginnings can lead to monumental change, and the importance of adapting to circumstances while staying true to your mission. And a question to think about during the video: who is the Bartholomew Garelli in your life, waiting for you to introduce them to God's love? And later in the video, I'll tell you how you can immerse yourself in Don Bosco's world and bring his miraculous legacy to life in your own spiritual journey. But first, the story. Many people think of St. John Bosco as a man who worked with the youth of Italy and established the Salesian Order, and that he also had marvelous dreams and made countless prophecies that came true. But do you know what happened and on whose feast day that it all began? Today we will pick up where we left off in part 2 of this video, as Don Bosco said goodbye to young Bartholomew Garelli with a parting request that the youth return with his friends the following Sunday. Interestingly enough, during the following week, Don Cafasso, a close friend of Don Bosco, likewise invited a young man to serve Holy Mass for him one day. Like Bartholomew, this poor lad, though willingly, did not know how to perform the duties of an altar server. Therefore, Don Cafasso begged him to return so that he could teach him. Much to the priest's joy, that one boy brought a friend with him. Being overwhelmed with other priestly duties, Cafasso entrusted their care to Don Bosco, who happily increased the number of his pupils. What a marvelous spectacle greeted our saint the next Sunday. 6 little boys, poor and disheveled, led by Bartholomew Garelli, and the other 2, rounded up by Don Cafasso, were paying close attention to the words of Don Bosco. Wide-eyed, they listened intently as the priest revealed to them the secrets of heaven. With perseverance and devotion, in a few weeks, Bartholomew learned everything necessary to make a good confession, and shortly after, a Holy Communion. He then learned how to serve Holy Mass. From then on, this young man was a fond disciple of Don Bosco, and many priests of the oratory saw him coming to the oratory frequently for the next 15 years. Still others were added later on to these young pupils, filling the choir loft with young men eager to save their souls and those of their friends and family. One particular evening during those first Sunday catechism classes, Don Bosco crossed the church to go to the sacristy. While another priest was preaching, he saw some apprentices seated at the steps of the balustrade before a side altar, who instead of being attentive, were dozing off. He walked up to them and questioned them in a whisper. "Why are you sleeping?" "We do not understand anything of the sermon," one of them answered. "That priest does not speak in a way that we can understand." Seizing on every opportunity to educate others in the Catholic faith, Don Bosco quietly said, "Come with me." He led them to the sacristy and invited them to his catechism with the others. And this way, from week to week, the number of the catechized grew. To these, Don Bosco always recommended that they bring back with them as many companions as they possibly could. His goal? To draw them to God by obedience to divine commandments and the laws of the Church. First, he ensured that they observed the precepts of hearing Holy Mass on Sundays and feast days, taught them their morning and evening prayers, and prepared them to make a good confession. At first, after leaving their catechism classes, the boys were allowed to play in the little square in front of the church. But when the winter weather came, Don Bosco was forced to limit his after-class care to those children who had traveled far from their families to attend the classes. They were strangers in Turin and most in need of religious instruction. Space indoors was limited, and it pained the priest to send so many local children back to their homes. But that was a problem to be resolved another day. For the present, in addition to his weekly catechism classes, Don Bosco visited various business owners and tradesmen throughout the city of Turin. He would speak highly of his young protégés to those with a good reputation, offering them the chance to do good for the church, not by donating money, but by hiring these promising young boys, thereby saving them from idleness and bad companions. With tact, diplomacy, and a twinkle in his eye, Don Bosco united many a youth with a worthy mentor in the trades and in the business world. On Christmas Day, 1841, some of these young men received the sacrament of Jesus in their hearts, and the joy that shone from their faces was reflected in the heart of Don Bosco, who felt in himself the consolation of all his dear pupils. The Lord gave him this assurance of his assistance through the humility that was his guide. Speaking of humility, our saint practiced this elusive virtue by not doing anything without the approval of his superiors. Obedient to ecclesiastical authority in every way, in fact, in the report that he sent to Rome in 1864 to obtain papal approval of his pious society, he wrote, "Since 1841, when the work of the oratories began with a simple festive catechism in the Church of St. Francis of Assisi, everything was always done with the consent and under the direction of Archbishop Luigi Franzoni, Archbishop of Turin." So it was that in 1841, Don Bosco was a new apostle beginning his mission. The Catholic Church in every age has, by God's grace, extraordinary men to accomplish extraordinary works, which evidently manifest the finger of God. Even our own century, no less worthy of divine piety than others, possesses many such men and women. Perhaps you are one of them. As we reflect on the humble beginnings and incredible growth of Don Bosco's mission, we are reminded of the transformative power of dedicated faith and action. What if you could bring Don Bosco's spirit into your own life, surrounding yourself with his wisdom, inspiration, and prayerful community? Step into St. John Bosco's world. Our monthly promoters don't just learn about Don Bosco, they live his legacy. Picture your home adorned with inspiring images, your mind enriched by his writings, and your spirit uplifted by our communal prayers. From daily rosaries to exclusive books, you'll have everything to walk in Don Bosco's footsteps. Imagine starting your day with his wisdom, facing challenges with his courage, and ending your nights in our shared prayers. Ready for a total Don Bosco experience? Become a monthly promoter now, and let's begin his miracles and prophecies to life in your world. The link is in the description box down below, so you can go ahead and check that out right now. The story of Don Bosco, Bartholomew Gorelli, and the boys of the oratory reminds us that God can use the smallest beginnings to create monumental change. From a single encounter on the Feast of the Immaculate Conception, a worldwide movement was born that continues to touch lives today. We are reminded to never underestimate the power of a single act of kindness. It could be the beginnings of something miraculous. To adapt to circumstances as Don Bosco did when winter came, but always stay true to your mission. To seek guidance and approval of proper authorities as Don Bosco did with his superiors. And to ensure your work aligns with God's will. And as you go about your week, I encourage you to be open to the Bartholomew Gorellis in your life. How might God be calling you to be a Don Bosco to someone in need of his love? Remember, like our saint, you too could be the instrument that God uses to change someone's life forever. But what aspects of Don Bosco's approach to his mission inspired you the most? Was it his persistence, his adaptability, or maybe his humility? Share your thoughts in the comment section down below. I would love to hear from you, and I'll respond to as many comments as I can. Thank you for joining me today. St. John Bosco, pray for us. May God bless you, and Mary Immaculate keep you under her mantle. God love you.